Look at this. A new Harvard-Harris survey shows President Trump with a 52% approval rating. That's after his first month back in office, and that's majority support. Trump also has strong support with key voting blocs. Look at this. 45% of independents, 47% of women, 50% of Hispanics, and 50% of suburbanites all approve more than disapprove of President Trump. Not so bad for chaos.
Welcome to the Phoenix Report, where the flames burn through the lies and the truth rises from the ashes. Okay, let's set the scene. It's 2025. Donald Trump started his second term as president, and something absolutely insane is happening. His job approval ratings is at an all-time high. Let that sink in. The man who was impeached twice, investigated more than a mob boss, banned from social media, and accused from being everything from a dictator to an actual supervillain, is now more popular than ever. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party's approval rating is somewhere between inflation and a root canal. The media is melting down. The DNC is in full panic mode. And the elites who swore he'd never set foot in the White House again are absolutely losing it. So how did we get here? Why is Trump more approved now than in his first term? And why are Democrats coping so hard they might need a government-funded therapy program? We are going to break it all down. We got a quick one for you today, so let's jump right in.
The first CBS News poll of President Trump's second term shows him with a significantly higher approval rating than he enjoyed his first time in office. So 53% of Americans say they approve of the job the president has done so far. 47% disapprove. That's more than a dozen points higher than his 40% approval rating from February 2017. CBS News Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto, joins me now in the flesh. What a treat to have you here.
How are you?
So, look, I mean, Anthony, at the top levels, people seem to like what he's doing. So what's contributing to these numbers?
The first one is this big number, 70%, who feel that he is doing what he promised in the campaign. There's political value in that, right? It's a lot of his supporters who feel like this is what they voted for and this is what they're getting. There's people in here who approve and disapprove of him. But still, that kind of dynamic, especially early in an administration where people are evaluating based on what they saw in the campaign. There's this other point, too, that I want to emphasize. And speaking of the campaign, Kelly, we had a lot of descriptors of him during the summer, during the fall. We redid them here, and you see that majorities describe him as tough, energetic, focused. All of that is contributing to how they're evaluating these early weeks as well.
It's been 21 days now since President Trump took office, wasting no time issuing sweeping orders to dramatically reshape the federal government. This is a much more organized and effective start to his second term as compared to his first. CNN senior data reporter Harry Enton joining us now to run the numbers. Harry, hello. Good to see you.
Hello.
We're getting some new information about how Americans view President Trump's how he's doing his job.
Yeah, so, CBS News, YouGov came out with a poll earlier today that had him on the positive side of the ledger, and I decided to average all the polls. And you know what? The average of the polls also has him on the positive side of the ledger. All right, let's take a look. Trump's net approval rating on February 9th. Look at this. In 2025, he's at plus 4 points. Look where he was in 2017, his first term at this point. He was at minus 5 points, so he's doing nearly 10 points better on the average. And more than that, as I mentioned, it's not just the CBS News poll. It's the Ipsos poll. It's the Gallup poll. It's the Pew poll. All of these polls have him in better shape than those respective polls had him at this point back in 2017. So the bottom line is, no matter where you look, Donald Trump is more popular than he was 8 years ago at this point in his first term, and he's on the positive side of the ledger versus the negative side of the 0-point line as he was back in 2017.
And how rare is it that Trump's in this positive territory when it comes to his approval rating?
Yeah, I remember Donald Trump's first term, and it just seemed every single day Donald Trump was in the negative territory. And it turns out it was pretty much every single day of his first term. Positive net approval rating for Donald Trump, again, using the aggregate of the polls. Look at this. In his entire first term, just 11 days was he on the positive side of the ledger. Compare that so far, every single day, all 20 days so far, he has been on the positive side of the ledger. So he has nearly doubled up the number of days in which he has a positive net approval rating from his first term. And we're only 20 days in. Every single day, Donald Trump has been in positive territory compared to just 11 days during his first term. The bottom line is, no matter which poll you look at, no matter what way you look at it, simply put, Americans like the job that Donald Trump is doing significantly more this time around than they did in his first term, when he just had 11 days in which he had a positive net approval rating compared to already nearly 3 weeks so far, Jessica.
That is pretty incredible to compare those two. So break this down then. Why do you have any idea why more Americans are approving of his job, of the way he's doing his job this time around?
Yeah, of course, Donald Trump won the 2016 election. He won the 2024 election. But when you went into his first term, there were a lot of folks who simply put did not think that Donald Trump was doing what he promised. Back in April of 2017, it was just 46%. Compare that to 70% so far. So a big reason why Donald Trump is significantly more popular now than he was at this point in his first term is because, simply put, the American people believe he is fulfilling his campaign promises in a way that they did not believe he was doing, believed he was getting off on the wrong track back in 2017. They believe he's following his campaign promises this time around. And that is, I believe, a big reason why so many more Americans are approving of the job that he's doing compared to his first term at this point.
All right, everybody. This isn't a fluke. This isn't a mistake. This isn't some Russian disinformation campaign. No matter what the usual suspects are screaming on Twitter, these are the facts. Donald J. Trump's approval rating is higher now than at any point in his first term. It's higher than most modern presidents in their second term. Heck, it's nearly as high as Hunter Biden after a fresh wire transfer from Ukraine. And that's pretty damn impressive if you ask me. Anyone with a semi-functioning brainstem can see this isn't just Republicans approving of Trump. It's independents, it's moderates, and it's even former Biden voters who spent the last 4 years trying to convince themselves that $7 gas was totally normal. But here's the thing, people remember results. And during Trump's first term, the economy was booming, inflation was low, gas was cheap, and the country wasn't in constant crisis mode. Then Biden took over, and it was 4 years of a never-ending dumpster fire. People saw the difference, and now, just 1 month into Trump's second term, things are already improving. The border is under control, the stock market isn't in free fall anymore, and we're not stumbling into World War III every other Tuesday. It's no wonder his approval rating is soaring. Americans aren't stupid. They know when they've been lied to. And while Trump is hitting record highs, the Democratic Party approval rating has collapsed. It's lower than Congress. It's lower than CNN's primetime ratings. It's even lower than Kamala Harris's favorability, which is an achievement in itself. And why is it like this? Well, it's because Americans spent 4 years watching Democrats run the country like a drunk Uber driver. Inflation spiraled out of control, crime skyrocketed, schools became indoctrination camps. And instead of fixing any of it, Democrats spent all their time obsessing over Trump and passing bills about pronouns. So when 2024 rolled around, voters didn't just reject them, they obliterated them. And now, with Trump back in office and approval ratings through the roof, Democrats have no clue how to recover. No one is taking this harder than the media. CNN anchors are 51-50. MSNBC is searching for ropes and short stools. The New York Times is running op-eds with titles like, "Why Democracy is Failing Us," because people just won't listen. For years they told us Trump was hated. They told us Americans were done with him. They swore he'd never recover. They kept screaming he was Hitler. All that amounted to a devastating loss in November of 2024. And now he's more popular than ever, and their credibility is officially gone. And of course, they're coping hard. Some are saying voters have been misled. Others are claiming the public is falling for propaganda. And a few are already blaming Russia, because of course they are. Right, because when people looked at their bank accounts and saw prices doubling under Biden, it must have been Putin tricking them. No, people just remember what life was like before Democrats ran the country into the ground. The real shocker, it's not just Trump's old base supporting him. His approval is climbing in places no one else expected. Minority voters, his numbers are way up. Suburban women, they are back. And Gen Z, even they're starting to turn in favor for him. And that's because real life doesn't run on woke slogans and orange man bad propaganda. People need jobs. They need safety. They need leaders who actually fix things. Under Trump, their paychecks went further and their cities weren't war zones. They also didn't have to choose between groceries or gas. So now, as Democrats wonder why their voters have been fleeing in droves, they are too stubborn to see the answer is simple. Trump delivered, they didn't. Plain and simple. At this point, the Democrats are just running out of excuses. They've blamed misinformation. They've claimed voters are being tricked. They've even said Americans just don't get it. No, Americans get it just fine. That's why they voted for Trump again. The real problem is Democrats just assumed they could gaslight the country forever. They thought the people would just forget the chaos of the last 4 years. Instead, they remembered everything. And now, the demand for copium has hit record highs. If you invested in copium stock earlier this year, congratulations. You're richer than a Pfizer executive during a pandemic. Meanwhile, the DNC is huffing it like it's pure oxygen. The panic is real, and honestly, it's hilarious. So where do we go from here? If these approval ratings hold, the Democrats are completely screwed. They've lost the trust of the voters, they've lost the momentum, and most importantly, they've lost control of the narrative. They can try one last desperate smear campaign against Trump, but let's be real, at this point, nobody cares. They can try rebranding, but that won't work either, because they've spent too long doubling down on failure. The bottom line is, Trump is back. He's their daddy again. He's more popular than ever, and there's absolutely nothing they can do about it. And the numbers don't lie. Trump's job approval rating is skyrocketing. His second term is proving even more successful than his first. And after 4 years of chaos, America is ready to move forward. Meanwhile, the Democrats are in full-on panic mode, watching as their influence fades and their power crumbles. And honestly, it couldn't have happened to a nicer group of people. So that's going to do it for today's segment at the Phoenix Report. Thanks for tuning in, but before you go, tell me, do you think Trump's approval will keep rising, or are we about to see peak Democrat meltdown? Drop a comment below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, it helps a ton. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications because we are just getting started. Stay sharp, stay free, and stay fired up. I'll see you in the next one.